Hey, thanks for listening. Please subscribe to our newsletter at theproductporch.com for notifications on the latest episodes and exclusive content. If I had to pick two qualities that lead to success, it'd be humility and grit.
Humility and grit. And grits. You're going to have breakfast. It'll be grits.
Humiligrits.
Humiligrits. The new breakfast item menu. Humiligrits.
It sounds like a breakfast that insults you.
I know.
Wow, you guys are just punchy today. Welcome to the Product Porch with Ryan Kentwell, Todd Blackier, and me, Joe Golly. Today we discuss a vital skill for growing in your career, managing up. Now settle in, folks, because on the Product Porch, every topic is a product topic. I think I was a little ahead that time, guys, with the countdown, so forgive me for if I jumped the gun a little too quick.
It's all the caffeine you've had, Joe.
I've had way too much caffeine. I think I'm on my second or third bubbler. That's not an endorsement for the brand Bubbler, but it's a very popular caffeinated drink here in the Midwest. So gentlemen, I was thinking about something because it was a conversation I had with another product management leader in our org. And it was around this topic of managing up. When I worked in fintech, I was brought in to kind of set the standard, lead the charge, set some protocols, some procedures, processes, kind of show what good looks like from a product management perspective. So this was in my mid 30s. So I felt like that meant, Joe, go off in the corner and just go do it and don't keep anyone in leadership involved until you're done, because they didn't care to know what was happening along the way. They just wanted to see the finished product. And that couldn't have been further from the truth. By not engaging with them along the way, they had no idea where I was. They had no idea what my challenges were, what my dependencies were. When they were asked in meetings, they had no idea. So I made them look like they were uninformed. And so that first project was a colossal failure. And it set me back, quite honestly, with my leader, because I think I lost a lot of trust and it took me a long time to build that up. So I learned the importance of managing up as a skill set for a product manager. So I have a question for you guys. What have you learned in your careers around, like, what are the key skills around managing up? What does that even mean to both of you? I'll kind of just hand the baton that way.
What have I learned about managing up? I'm going to talk about my progression just quickly, because when I first got started, I didn't even know this was a thing. That I just thought your boss, they just kind of tell you what to do. So you go about like, oh, okay, I'll just say, all right, what's next? And we have conversations. And as time goes on, I started to realize, and I got really lucky. Let me say that. I got really lucky. I had a boss when I first got started in product management who was very collaborative in his approach to things. And that kind of pulled back the curtain a little bit for me to see that, oh, he is a stakeholder just like the other people in the organization, because he was giving me some, like, empowering me a little bit. So like to do things. So I knew I had to do some of these things to make sure he knew what was up. And it was kind of like he was easing me into it. I didn't know what was happening, but he was easing me into it as we went along, which is kind of nice.
So managing up, the first time I heard that term, I thought it meant I need to play the role of a project manager and just keep them updated with status. So just for clarity, when we say managing up, what does that really mean, or what does that really entail?
The simplest visual in my mind is an org chart, where you've got a product person that sits there who are more often than not managing across the org chart to various stakeholders. Think about peers in different departments that they're working with regularly. Managing up would be, yes, it's to their direct manager, but gosh, there's so many other interactions with people who would be superior to you as well, like your boss's peers and your 1/1s and up the food chain. So it's going up the org chart to make sure expectations are very much appropriately aligned. That's how I like to think about it with that visual in mind.
So there's someone I had reporting to me early on when I had created my own business and I was learning how to be a manager because I didn't know any better. And he was really good at this. So he was one of our creative directors, and he would manage different productions. It was a video production company. I had created this plan, this brilliant plan, because we had a huge contract to create all of these online charter school videos, and we were getting something like 5 scripts a day. So I had created this plan, this way to do it. He had shot using my method for a little while, and then he came into my office one day. He's like, "Hey, Todd, like, this doesn't work well." I said, "Well, explain to me, what do you mean by that?" He said, "Well, the problem is that we take up a lot of time when we have to change shots. And I've also found that because there's 2 shots that we do, one of them was the actor on screen and one of them was the actor off screen. And you would just see like their hands on a whiteboard or something." He's like, "They have a lot more energy in the early day than they do late in the day." So he said, "My recommendation is that we shoot 1 shot, 5 scripts in the morning. So all before lunch, we shoot that same setup. And then after lunch, we shoot the other setup where their energy's gone down a little bit, but it's okay because we're mostly hands and it's not faces anymore. And then we don't have to change shots. We don't change setups and stuff, lighting setups and things." I was like, "That's awesome." His name's Kyle. I'm like, "Kyle, that's awesome." And I could tell he was like kind of a little nervous, like he was calling my baby ugly. He was kind of nervous about that. And I had this realization. I remember telling him this in the room, and I've used it so many times since then. I said, the way I see it, like I'm sitting from this place where I'm looking at all the trees. I'm looking at the forest, but I'm on the treetops, and I'm looking at where we're trying to go. And you're down below, and I'm having you like cut a path. And I'm like, cut all the path, cut the trees down, and get us over there. I think this is the right way to go. But you're the one cutting down the trees. And you're going to run into things where you're like, this tree is too big to cut down, or, hey, there's a big rock here. We shouldn't go this way. And I don't see it. So I need you to come tell me the things that I don't see. And so I just tell them, like, you did a great job. I love this. Since then, I could empathize with people that I reported to. Because I could see that where it's like they need me to tell them what they don't see.
I had kind of mentioned it earlier. What happens when we forget that their boss is also a stakeholder? Like I mentioned a couple of things, right? I caught him flat-footed. What's the impact of not including them?
A host of traps that you could fall into. Remember I had the little Atari game Pitfall, where it's like you can fall into the swamp or get eaten by the alligator. Or
I didn't have that one.
Pitfall.
What was it
that
called?
Was the best.
Pitfall?
You run, you jump, you grab the vine,
you swing, you fall in the hole.
You make it sound like Donkey Kong. I know that wasn't Donkey Kong, but I feel. Anyways, I don't want to go.
I had that on Commodore 64.
Oh, I had an Atari 210, but that's besides the point. Go ahead, Ryan.
All right. So if you forget this lesson, I think a couple of things can happen. Number one, you can turn into the yes person in your organization, where it's kind of like what I thought, where you're just like accepting what they say and being a good soldier. Aye, aye. Salute. Run off. Do the thing. The other one would be, Joe, I think this is where you started, was you went off in the corner, did your thing, and now all of a sudden, whatever you did isn't aligned. There's this gap or mismatch in expectation, and frustration comes out of that. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just now you've got this friction happening between you and your manager. Now, depending on your manager, they could see that as a development opportunity, or maybe they don't. And in those cases, he's not getting the next project. Like, I can't trust him, which is like the worst thing.
Case, what you do is you do the exact opposite of what they want you to do.
Oh, yes.
And they see you as incompetent, or they see you as just, someone who doesn't understand, doesn't get it. And you can really, to your point, Joe, like when you went off and started building, like that's dangerous.
Yeah.
And
if there's something inside you that tells you, should I check in with my manager? That's a good, like, managing up flag.
Yeah. And I think both of you guys do this really well, because I've seen you do it, where if at any point you run into a situation where you could make an assumption, instead of doing that, you ask a question. Just go ask your boss.
But I struggled with this. I think a lot of younger PMs struggle with this because I feel like there was a delicate line between showing that I can do something, showing that I know how to be a product manager and not like pestering my leader. I think my instinct, wrong as it was I was like, I felt like it was a sign of weakness that I had to keep getting their feedback and engaging with them throughout the process. I didn't want to show weakness to my leader. Like, how do we balance that?
Right. I love that question because I think that's common. I think a lot of times we're worried, like, I'm going to seem incompetent. There's a right and wrong way to do it. Ryan said, asking questions. I think we learned from how Kyle did it, right? Well, I mean, Kyle had a recommendation. But I think what would be good is when you come into the room, and what's good was when you come into the room and you ask your manager, if you want to make sure that you're still aligned. I find it's better to just come in bottom line up front, bottom line up top, right? Was that what's called? Bottom line, yeah, bluff. Bottom line up front. Come in, tell them what you believe, like state the assumptions. And so rather than sounding like a moron, like, hey, I don't know what to do. And I've had this happen to me sometimes. People come in, talk to me for 10 minutes. I don't actually know what they're trying to ask me.
Right.
I don't understand. And so then I start throwing suggestions out. I start talking a lot. And then eventually they're like, yeah, well, we already did that. Or yeah, we're doing this. And I'm just confused. I'm like, what are we talking about? So I think what's really important is when you come in, bottom line up front, hey, Joe, so I know you asked me to complete this project. I started on it. I put a plan together. Here's what I think you're asking me to do. This is what I believe you mean good looks like. It looks like if I do this, that, and this other thing. Do I understand you correctly? And then I got to be ready to take the feedback because, Joe, you might say, well, Todd, you're mostly right, but honestly, you forgot this thing. Or actually, I don't care about that. I really need you to go here. And that's when I have to listen and respond back.
Yeah.
So to that point, Joe, I don't think you don't want to go in and just ask, hey, what do you want me to do? Or continue nagging with questions every step of the way, basically essentially making your boss have to make all the decisions for you. What you really want to do is come in, tell them what you're doing, and just validate that you got it right.
Yeah. And I'll offer some very practical advice to do this. I'm sure most people are having one-on-ones with their managers. And I hear so many one-on-ones happen. And it's a look backwards. Here's the thing I did. Here's the thing I did. Here's the thing I did. Good. They leave the office. And then if something comes up that's misaligned, you might talk about it. But instead, during your one-on-one, why not spend half the time talking about what you're going to do and saying,
right,
here's what I plan. I've got this, and check in. So this is where instead of just saying, do I have it right? And being cautious about it, instead say, this is the direction I'm headed. Is the goal still this? Just check in. Is the goal still this?
And this is where I think a lot of people don't do this or don't do this enough. We talked before on here about how important writing is.
Uh-huh.
This is a project management skill. And look, I hate project management. And a lot of project managers hate project management. And we hate writing and we hate documentation. But the reality is, this is where written plans are so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Write down what the goal is, or the problem that you're solving, or the question that you're answering. Write it down, the hypotheses that you have. I do this with my boss, who is a CEO. When I'm making big plans, we are making a recent pricing decision on a feature. I'm writing down, here's what I think you want to know about this product. It was deciding whether or not to price this product. Here's what I think you want to know. Here are our assumptions about this. Here's my plan of attack. That I think is important. And that I love seeing when my team brings to me their plan. Hey, Todd, I just want to make sure, here's what I believe you said the goal was. Here's how I'm planning on attacking that. And then one of the most important pieces I wish people did more, align on the deadlines.
Oh, yeah.
Ask the question. Just state it. Like, what I'm hearing you say is, the way you're telling me, it sounds like there's something I need to get done by the end of the month. Is that right? Or the end of the week. Is that right? And I can't tell you how many times I've falsely thought I should get something done sooner than my manager thought I needed it done.
Let me throw a wrinkle at you guys. What happens if you have a horrible manager? how do you still manage up? By the way, I'm not indicting. Just, anyone that listens to this, I've never had a horrible manager. Just making sure I'm very clear. Anyone that ever follows me.
Can I leverage a Socratic method here and answer? Can I answer a question with a question?
Define
sure.
horrible manager.
No, we could do that. But I was going to say, let's say you're a new manager on a team and you have 5 directs and one of them you're struggling with. How do you manage a bad employee?
Oh, you're turning it around.
I mean, don't you set expectations? Here's how I want to work it. Like,
Setting
it's
expectations. Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys have heard me use the expression team working agreement, right? And that's like, in product teams, it's like and it's not about like it's not a racy, by the way. I'm not a fan of racies, but it's more like the accountability. Like, this is what I'm going to hold you accountable to. This is what you can hold me accountable to. Yeah. This is kind of like our standard operating procedure. Like, this is how we're going to resolve things. This is how I'm going to give you feedback. Like, what's the best way? So it's like you're setting the protocol, the method of communicating, collaborating with each other. And then, I mean, you can write it down, and I've written it down before. I think it's good just in case. My reaction, Todd, is you got to have an expectations discussion with your direct report.
Yeah, clearly defined expectations. I think that's great. I don't think, yes, there are bad managers. Yes, there's bad employees. But most of the time, they're not. Most of the time, it's not the bad manager. And the power dynamic, I understand, is different. But the point I really want to make was like, what if you have a bad manager? You can get, depending on how good of a manager you are, you can get more or less out of a team. If you're a bad manager, you can demoralize a high-performing team and take them from an A+ to a C. You could just drive them into the ground and send everyone away. If you're a good manager, you can take an underperforming team and you can coach them and turn them around. You can get them aligned. A lot of times, a bad manager just doesn't have directions, doesn't know where to go, right? I think it's the same in managing up. Sometimes people don't know how to manage. They don't know what they should be asking you. So good managing up is telling them.
Mm-hmm.
You set those expectations, right? So if you have a bad manager, and I'm just going to say less experienced, or, just a manager doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You make them set expectations. You push them for goals. You get them to align on a goal with you and align on a plan with you. They should be doing that and they're not. Ryan's talked about this before. You get them to have one-on-ones. You set up check-ins with them. You get them to provide your feedback. In other words, you're kind of showing them and teaching them how to be a manager. Now, then there's the small percentage of the world where it just doesn't matter. They're jerks, and it doesn't matter. They're jerks. But I'm not talking about them. I'm just saying, just because you don't have an excellent manager doesn't mean you can't manage up successfully.
So I'm about to throw a wrench in the conversation, fellas, so bear with me.
Okay.
What about a situation where your direct manager, great, but their manager or their manager's manager,
been there,
is not good? Like, how does that managing up relationship work? Where do you fit?
Can I share a story?
Please.
So I was in a situation where I was a director of product management. I was reporting to someone, and they were reporting to someone. And these two folks weren't always completely aligned. Okay. So it was one of those awkward things. I'm gonna make up names. I'm gonna call them my boss Jim and Jim's boss Mark. I'm gonna make up names here. Mark would come in the room and he would tell me and my team, everyone reported to me, I need this by the end of the week. Everyone get me updated roadmaps by the end of the week, and walk out of the room. And then Jim would come over, forget Mark, doesn't know what he's talking about. It's not important. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about it. Now, here's what I learned. It did matter. And at first, we all loved Jim. And we're like, cool, Jim said we don't have to do it. Let's all listen to Jim and go back to our job.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mark would just keep knocking on my door. And next thing you know, it's the day of. And I got Mark on my door. Where is it? Give it to me now. And I'm shoving my team, getting my team, in this hustle mode. So it finally got to the point where I had to bring my team in one time. I told them, I said, listen, I've recognized the dynamic between these two leaders. We can pretend it doesn't exist. We can pretend that we just have to do what Jim wants and not what Mark wants, and we're going to be fine. That's not true and it's garbage, and we know that. Here's what I think we need to do. We need to learn how to satisfy Mark in the leanest, simplest way possible. We don't want to over-index because we understand what Jim's actually telling us. Don't lose focus on what's important. But if we just completely ignore what Mark wants, it's not good for us. We're not going to look great. The larger point there being, you have to you have to recognize, to your point, Ryan, there is a cascading set of managers. Yeah. And at some companies, it's like 10 deep. But you can't just focus on your direct manager and feel like you're being successful.
So Ryan, I wrote this down right away as you asked your question, like what happens. So again, the question is, what happens if it's not your manager, but the manager's manager, right? Boss's boss. And what do you do? Is managing up just upward, like vertical, or is it horizontal across the organization? You know how we talk about, we talk about how product management is a team sport, and we're working across the organization. We're working with different functions like sales, marketing, finance, etc. Right? Is managing up also managing up across the organization?
So we defined what managing up is earlier. I'm going to give you a definition of what I think it isn't, and this might help Joe.
Okay.
It's not playing politics. You're not going like circumventing people and going around up the chain. That is not managing up.
Yep.
So you're saying across the organization, absolutely. You are trying to make sure as much of the chain of expectation stays intact. I just coined a new term, the chain of expectation.
The chain of expectations. I love it.
Intact.
And you know how you do that successfully? When you have a manager where maybe they're not getting that information out, or you risk going around them and you never want to do that. Here's how you do it. Remember, it's we, not me.
Right.
Remember, it's we. Help make your boss the hero. Some people will hate that. It'll make them sick in their stomach just to even hear that. And I understand. If I'm working, like let's say I'm reporting to Joe. Joe's my boss. And Ryan's in another department. Joe's not sharing any of the information that Ryan needs to know. If I'm doing my job, I'm making sure I'm aligned with Joe. I'm making sure Joe feels confident in the plans that I'm creating. And he agrees with me and we're aligned. And if I know I'm going the right direction, I can confidently go to Ryan now. And I can say, hey, Ryan, here's something Joe and I have been working on. And that's the way I would say it. Because I'm not trying to make Joe look bad. I'm not saying, hey, Ryan, look at the cool stuff I'm doing. You know, Joe's sitting on his thumbs over there. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go and say, hey, Ryan, Joe and I have been working on this. Really excited about it. Think it's going to help out. What that's going to do is Ryan's going to go, this is awesome. I like it. You know, he'll go back to Joe. Hey, Joe, I saw stuff that you and Todd are working on. Great job. Joe's going to love it. He's going to love it. Okay, cool. Todd took something off my plate. The thing where people make it political and risky is when they go outside of their manager and they start just trying to impress the entire organization with their great abilities.
Yeah.
So everyone has insecurities. Everyone does. And your manager might not ever tell you about their own insecurities. But if they're feeling insecure about their abilities at all, and you're going around impressing the entire company with your awesomeness, you might actually create a relationship of conflict. And so I have found that, especially when I recognize some of those insecurities in my manager, one, I'm going to make sure that I'm handling things directly with them so that they don't see that. And then two, I'm going to make sure I'm looping them in and giving them credit. I don't want to outshine them. And again, look, I know how this sounds to some people. I know how this sounds. Some people are like, Todd, what are you talking about? You just want me to make my manager look good. You want to make my boss look good. I'm not going to look good. You want me to give them credit. I know. I've seen the movies, right? I've seen Batman Returns with Catwoman and her throwing her boss out the window and stuff. I've seen it. I get it.
I get how we're Working Girl, but that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. It's totally good.
Gosh, I've not
bosses.
seen Working Girl. I'm watching Batman Returns. Joe's watching Working Girl.
I'm not watching. I'm not watching. I'm not.
I'm just saying. My point is, I know how it sounds, but y'all, I'm going to give you two quick examples. I had an example at one company, and I mentioned it on this show before, where I wanted to show my boss how good he was, how good I am. I want to show him how good I am by just like being awesome. and just overwhelming him with my awesomeness, almost like a middle finger of awesomeness. How well did that go? I got let go of that company. The middle finger of awesomeness did not serve me well.
Mm-hmm.
After that experience, I realized I am going to support my manager wherever I go. I've done it ever since. I'm going to support my manager and I'm going to make them look good. And my career since then has skyrocketed from one place to another. And I'm just saying, like, it's not a career limiting move to help your manager look good at what they're doing.
No, it never is. Because if that manager is not strong to begin with, you're not the only one that sees it. That's others see it too. So you're putting yourself in a better position as somebody who's easier to work with, who's making the effort, who's trying to do the right things. So that's the better path for sure.
Let me ask you, let's go back to my example, because I struggled with this with my leader. How does one recover? Can they recover from not managing upward?
Can you? The short answer is yes. And how you is incredibly contextual. I mean, I think a good first step, some universal things that would help recover would be, number one, admit you were wrong. Show people that you see that I messed up here. And I want to do better next time. Can we work together to figure out how to do better next time? I think that's like the universal thing that you're going to try to do to recover.
Humility is supremely underrated
Oh,
skill.
for sure.
I think it's a superpower. I've actually come now to tell my kids, I've been saying this recently, if I had to pick two qualities that lead to success, it'd be humility and grit. I'm like, if I could only have two, I think those would be the two I picked.
Humility and grit. And grits. You're going to have breakfast. It'll be grits.
Yes. Humiligrits.
Humiligrits. The new breakfast item menu. Humiligrits.
It sounds like a breakfast that insults you.
I know. Yeah. Breakfast. Humiligrits. That's funny.
Wow, you guys are just punchy today. All right.
So we talked about some things already that I had on my list. I made a list of things that are examples of good managing up.
Oh, cool.
We talked about ensuring you're aligned, right? Asking those questions, make sure you guys are aligned. We talked about bringing solutions, not just problems. So if you got a problem, bring a solution with it, right? I think it's always great in those cases, sometimes even have options, option A, B, and C, and make a recommendation. And then giving feedback on what can be improved, like actively telling, because I said, like, they don't know what they don't know sometimes. Managers don't know. We need to hear it. I'm going to name three more, and you guys tell me if you want to double click on any of these.
Okay.
One is communicating the right level of detail. Two is, what does good look like in my role? Three is, never tell me the horse is dead if you didn't tell me the horse is sick.
I really like, what does good look like to you?
What does good look like? It's so simple, right?
That really resonated with me, just even in my current role right now, or, just in general, right? I just feel like it helps to level set in terms of what my expectations are versus what my leader's expectations are. I'm doing it right now with a product that I'm working on. I'm driving in our organization, and she flat out told me I'm going way forward. I'm overdoing it. She's like, I want good.
Oh, good.
I want good. Like, this is what I'm looking for. And it's now, as I make decisions on this product, I ask that question, or actually, to your point, I tell her what I think good looks like, and then I get her feedback on it. You know what I mean? Like and it's actually, my daughter was home this past weekend from college, just a side note. And she was meeting with a professor about a project she's working on. And I said, Casey, just ask this question. What does good look like from your professor's standpoint? Like, to achieve what we're trying to do for this project. Like, try to build that muscle in your vocabulary, because I think that will take you a long way in your career. So that one just really sticks with me, Todd.
I love what you're saying, Joe, because sometimes we can overdo it. Sometimes we can underdo it, go the wrong direction. I will say this. I was talking about bad managers. The one thing I will say is a fundamental truth. There is such thing as the wrong manager for you. And it doesn't have to be the same as what everyone else's is. So I have learned that it's a great thing to ask, because as they begin to describe it, I might actually look at what they think is good and go, you know what? I'm probably not the right person for you, which is fine. I might self-elect out just because they answer that question.
So I want to talk about, I think, the hardest one of your three. What is the right level of detail
Yeah.
to communicate it? That is the hardest one. How do you know?
I think you share what you think the right level of detail is and ask for their feedback. Is this enough? Is this too much? Too little? Am I doing it in the way? Is it email? Is it chat?
I like that, Joe. Simple, easy. Just ask.
Yeah.
You got to learn their communication channels.
Let me get your take. I'm interested in your take on this, fellas. I was listening to another podcast recently, and it came up this concept of an operating manual for yourself. Like as a boss, you can give it to your employees. This is my operating manual. I thought that's a pretty good idea. Like how you communicate, what feedback you like, what feedback you give, what channels work. Like it's got things in there about how you work. Well, let me ask you this. What do you only write an operating manual if you're a manager? Could you do it and give it to your manager?
It's got to be a two-way conversation. That should be part of your onboarding. I'll call her up by name, Angela. She's my amazing boss right now. And she was just blunt with me. She's like, Joe, I don't check my emails on the weekend. I don't check them at night. When I go on vacation, I don't check she was like very clear about like her boundaries.
Yep.
Right. And then she said something to the effect of, I am in the details.
There's no benefit that comes from being opaque. Let me tell you this though, when you talk about the right level of detail, it's been a long time since I've taken a web design class. So I'm very okay with the fact that the world has changed since then. But when I was in web design, I remember one of the things that I learned was layered information. I think when you need to approach with a manager, especially a new manager, is approach it layered information. And especially if you report to an executive or you are reporting, sharing information with an executive. Start at the top, tell them what the point is. Throw it out there from the very beginning. Tell them why you're talking to them. Hey, Joe, we're meeting today because our release is going to be late. Now, there's two ways of handling this. One is we can hold on the release, or we could still go out with partial with what we have today. I'm asking you to hear my recommendation out and tell me what you think we should do. I want to make sure we're aligned. This is the situation, blah, 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 blah. My recommendation is that we hold on the release because I see a possible compliance issue and I'd like to research that out before we release it. Joe, are you comfortable with me communicating that we're going to be 2 weeks later as I research this compliance issue? That's the right way to approach an executive level conversation. What you have to have in your back pocket, layered information, right? If they double click, tell me more when you said compliance issue. What is the possible compliance issue? Be ready with that information. Double click. Tell me, how do we answer that question? Here's who we're going to, right? So you got to be ready with that information. But one of the things that I see people failing in managing up is when they have a meeting, a skip level meeting. And in that meeting, they're telling all the stories and they're putting all the data on the slides and I'm sitting there just cringing like, dude, just give them the point. Just make the point clear and make sure your manager knows what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Am I answering a question? Am I giving a recommendation? Am I making a decision? What am I supposed to do in this meeting? Don't hold your manager hostage for an hour.
Oh, absolutely. Presentation is about knowing your audience. And I think that's what you're saying, Todd, is you got to know to what level do I communicate with them? And that's so important.
And it's always safe with executives to assume you start at an executive summary level.
Oh, yeah.
Executives aren't very smart. They can't handle it. No. It's usually that they don't have the context
in the room.
They're busy. They don't have the context, and it's confusing. And it's like, and they're doing mental gymnastics in their head, trying to figure out how to get to the point where they know what to do. Just help them out. Lead them. It's like a Reese's Pieces of the ET. Just lead them back to where they need to go.
Exactly.
Hey, could I hit on the last one because I did like it a lot?
All right, let's do it.
You've heard me say it before. Never tell me the horse is dead if you didn't tell me the horse was sick. I had a manager who used to tell me that. He was a president of an engineering company, an old cowboy. If you want to manage up, one of the worst things you can do is surprising your manager
Yeah.
with a problem.
Ugh. Yeah.
Like the example I just gave about the release, if I'm doing it right, Joe knows about this as soon as it seems like there's a potential compliance issue.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not telling Joe that release is supposed to go out today. We're going to delay it.
Sorry.
That's too late. The problem already
it's like you're
happened. The
hiding
horse is
something.
dead. Yeah. So I tell my team that all the time. Like, let me know if you see the risk. And there's a right way to do it. The right way to do it is like, hey, Joe, just say no. I think there's a potential we might have to push our release back. I'm hoping not, but I see a potential compliance issue. We're focused on it. We're going to have the right conversations. And this is what we're doing right now to mitigate the risk. So I want you to be aware of it. So that way, if it come back, hey, Joe, it turns out there is a compliance issue. This is the problem. We're going to have to spend another sprint working on it. Joe's not shocked, and not to mention your leader talks to their leaders and their leaders talk to their leaders, who's the CEO, and the CEO talks to the board. And the CEO definitely doesn't want to be embarrassed that the thing he told the board is not going to happen. That's when lightning bolts strike you from above, right?
Oh my gosh.
So give your manager a heads up so they can give their manager a heads up so they can keep the crap from rolling all the way down if things don't go right.
All right. So key takeaways. What are our key takeaways, gentlemen? I'll start. I wrote mine down on a sticky. All right. So this is what I wrote on my yellow or my orange sticky note. I said, managing upward is not project management. It's about building a two-way trusting relationship with you and your leader. That is what managing up is.
I want to leave. I think I may have said this before, but it's worth repeating. I had a manager of all people say the words, frustration is the product of misaligned expectations.
Ooh. Ding.
So
Yes.
Love that.
yeah, that's pretty good, right?
That's very profound, Ryan. But for those who aren't, you can't see, but Ryan's in like a black hat and like a black sweatshirt. Like you can it's almost like if the door wasn't there, it looked like his head is like hovering
He's a floating
in a
face.
Yeah.
space. Very profound, Ryan.
Very profound. Exactly. So frustration is the product of misaligned expectations. And managing upwards is just like managing any other stakeholder. It takes communication and alignment.
My takeaway is that this is a skill that is worth investment.
Yeah.
It's worth your investment in this skill. The truth is, if you were really good doing what you guys just said, having those aligned expectations, having a good, clear, trusting relationship that goes both ways, it's going to bode well for your career. It will be great for you and for your future. So it's worth being great at.
Gentlemen, it's good
This
seeing
went too
you. It's
fast,
been a
guys.
while.
Yeah, it always feels like
Yeah.
it goes too fast.
It always goes by too fast. This was good though. I like this topic a lot. Good.
This
good
has been
idea.
a really quick 38 minutes. I'm guessing at the runtime of this episode.
38 minutes.
All right, gentlemen, you stay warm. It's getting cold outside. Let's bring a sweater next time we see each other. on the porch, shall we?
Absolutely.
All right, bye guys.
Good night, folks.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you for joining us on the Product Porch. We release new episodes every 2 weeks. You can also find us on LinkedIn for more content. We offer a special thank you to AJ and Jack Block here for the music. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts of this podcast are their own and do not represent nor necessarily reflect those of their employer.